Good morning and welcome to Jack Dodsons Insider Racing News, live from the Curtis Turner Museum and Virginia Museum of Transportation in Roanoke, Virginia. Glad to be here. Got Scott Allen and we got Miss Margaret Sue Turner. Right.
It's a paragraphic name and you did it.
We are so glad to be here. It's a really a big deal for us, and it's I'm always been kind of partial to this area because my grandfather was born and raised in this area, and ran moonshine in this area.
Yeah.
So that was
your grandfather ran moonshine.
Yes, he got caught, got busted running moonshine. He moved to West Virginia to become a police chief.
Oh, he did.
He went to the dark side.
Yeah.
Went backwards.
There for a while, he couldn't come back to Virginia for a long time because he had been guilty of running a moonshine. So what we want to do is we want to get some background on Curtis Turner, all about his history, and I know you're trying to get him into the hall, which is something I know a guy that's on the voting board.
Okay.
And I have kind of in the past punched him a little bit and said, look, we need to do this. He was very instrumental in helping Joe Weatherly get involved with that. But out here too. And so we'll start wherever you want to start. Tell us how he got started in racing.
Oh, okay. Well, Daddy was born in Floyd, Virginia, in April 12th, 1924, and grew up on the farm with his dad, Morton and Mickey Turner, my grandparents. And my mother was born 3 years after that, in 1927, in Ferrum, Virginia. When they got older, when they were, let me backtrack. When they got old enough that they could date each other, she was warned by her aunts and everyone not to date Curtis Turner. He already had a reputation before they
even started
dating. Yeah, and that was down the mountain, from Floyd to Ferrum. But yeah, he already had a reputation. He did help out the family business really well, and they did have a lot of corn that they grew, and Grandpa and Grandma's farm. It's a real nice sized farm, and the house is still standing up there. And I used to go there and play checkers with Grandpa, and I never knew we let him in. And it made me feel so. I always felt so good when I would go there. I felt so empowered. But so that he did not actually finish school. He went to school and for a while, and then wanted to step back out around 9th grade. He wanted to help out more on the farm, and he also wanted to help out in the other family business, which was moonshine. And it was well known back in that time. It was something that they were proud of. It was not anything that seemed wrong. It actually was something they were proud of. They thought that they could grow their own stuff and do what they wanted to. They didn't really like the law coming in and saying, well, maybe you just can't do that.
Yeah.
And so all that came about, prohibition, all that stuff was such a big thing, in those days. And then they kept trying to have their own business and have their own farm, farmland, grow their own stuff. And, well, he was taught by his uncle Tab taught him how to drive a school bus at age 11. So he was driving the school bus at 11, and really someone said that he was driving a car before that, maybe 9 or 10. Granddaddy's car, and so anyway, Granddaddy said that he could start, seeing what it was like to be on a moonshine run, and I think he was 12. And he was assisting. He was assisting in some way. And next thing he knew, they let him drive. So I don't know. I've got some of that in here already. It's been a few years since I've even looked at that particular stat, but he might have been 12 or 13 when he went on his first moonshine run. And he loved it. And so he had a lot of practice, and he practiced a lot in the fields too before he was driving. Doing his little 180s and 360s and stuff like that. So that's basically his start, and he did outrun a lot of that, a lot of the ball back in those nice winding roads up in Floyd, wherever they were going. And, so that's basically the start right there. I mean, most of your drivers, especially in this area down from here to North Carolina and south, really did start that way with moonshine runs. They don't,
Junior Johnson.
Yeah, he did, and he knew Daddy quite well. They raced together.
So how did he get involved with the racing part? I mean, where did he start with that? How did that?
Okay, Mom and Dad were married in 1946, and he married my mother, Ann Ross, and originally it was Lily Ann Ross. She dropped the Lily and just became Ann Ross, and then it became Ann Ross Turner. And that was 1946. They were married in July. And on the way back from their, they went to Gatlinburg. And on their way back from their honeymoon, Daddy had heard about a race, and he kind of tried it out. I believe it was Mount Airy on the way home, and he wanted to see how he would do. His first race, he actually didn't know anything about how to soup up the car, and but he knew how to drive. He had that part down. So he got into the race, and he finished dead last out of 18. He was the 18th one. So afterward, he went up to him and he said, "How come? I know how to drive. I don't know whatever he was telling him. How do you do this and that?" And see, they're all a bunch of jokesters.
Oh yeah.
And so they just decided right off the bat, to give notes to him of how to do things that were just opposite. And Francis Flock remembers this stuff too. And it's just so funny. So he did some of this stuff and it didn't work, and he finally figured it out. And I think the very second race or so after that, he started winning right away. And once he figured that part out.
Yeah, but you're right. They did play a lot of jokes.
They were always playing jokes on each other. It made it so much fun. And the legends that are still around are still a lot of fun.
And I love those stories. What about there was that loader that had a ruler that the measurements were off on, and somebody asked to use his ruler, so they used it and made his car. He found out he used Leonard's ruler and found out his car was off, so he changed the whole car, and then when he went through tech, it was completely off. So he never asked to borrow anything else from Leonard again.
Oh, that's hilarious. No, I hadn't heard that one. Oh, that's great.
So now he was very instrumental in starting the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yes.
They get involved in the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yes, I would backtrack and mention that he was very instrumental in the formation of NASCAR, because he was actually at the Streamline Hotel. He and Bill France knew each other from the get-go, and he met with them down there at the Streamline Hotel when they were actually trying to form it. And so he was with him from the very beginning. Actually, in 1950, he and Bill France did the Mexican road race. And Daddy drove a Nash.
Mm.
And when he was coming down the mountain, that's a week-long race.
Okay.
And they start from, Guadalajara or something like that, down
I
south
think it is,
and go all the way north, Mexico. It's a week-long race, and where they start, it's very, very high terrain. It's rough terrain, very, very high altitude. So they kept having to make adjustments, to the car, I guess, carburetor, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so they also, it's such a long race and everything, and in the car that he started out in, he was registered with and everything, something happened to it. So he jumped into another car. Because of that, he was disqualified from getting money, or they gave him the money, but he was disqualified from actually, placing. But what happened was, the helicopter loved watching Daddy race, because they were watching him drag his wheel off the side of the road. That's because he lost his brakes, and he was coming down the mountain without any brakes. And so it was a great show up there in that helicopter. I would love to see that. Do we have a question from the audience?
him $10,000. They gave him the cash prize because of what he did.
Was it 10,000?
So, which is incredible amount.
This is the Curtis Turner historian over here, my husband, Gary Wright.
And you need to remind them that Pops Turner did do time for moonshine.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if you could hear that on the thing.
It probably is.
Okay. So anyway, but they did give him the money, because, and even but they couldn't give him the qualification for it.
It was 10. I mean, that's a lot of money back then.
Yeah, I don't know. Was it 10,000?
It was a lot.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
Well, that's still a lot of, no matter what, it's still a lot of money.
Any kind of money back then was good.
Well, yeah.
I don't know what that was, but yeah. So yes, and so back to your question, the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Daddy actually conceived the idea, concepted it, and actually he took me on a drive. We went down to Charlotte from Roanoke. We left from here, and we were driving to Charlotte. And he said, "I want to stop on the side of the road and show you what I'm thinking about doing." And so we stopped on the side of the road when we got closer towards Charlotte. And he showed me this big field, and I guess it was a wheat field or something. And all I could see was wheat or grass or whatever it was. and he was telling me about he was concepting, and he was telling me his vision and how he wanted to build the best racetrack ever. And so he, all I could see was the grass, but I was really trying to see what he was talking about. And he was talking about his turns and how it was going to be such a great track and everything. So he bought he named it Charlotte Motor Speedway, and he had I think it was the Crosland Farm or something like that. But anyway, he used to do what they called take option, and so he took option on this property, and he did that all the time. He was always wheeling and dealing. He was already an entrepreneur and had quite a few businesses before that.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, he had a lot of different businesses. He had Carolina Moon and Timber Turner Corporation and just all kinds of different businesses between Virginia and North Carolina. So anyway, so he took option on that property, and that was the beginning of it. And he had some members on board with him that did not include Britton Smith. Britton Smith did not come on board. I think it was either, I don't know, it was weeks or a month or so later. And so that's how that originally came up.
I'm glad he did. Wonder what he would have thought. Wonder what he would have thought how it is today. Yeah, how big it's turned out to be.
I think he'd be pretty proud of
I
that.
would too. I would too. And the short track, the dirt track across the road,
that's
that is
awesome.
unbelievable.
That's awesome. That's his favorite. Dirt racing was his favorite. Yeah. And sand, where he could really slide and tear it up.
Now, he did a lot of the racing down at Daytona on the beach. I heard you
Yes,
mention
he
that
did.
earlier. Tell us a little bit about that. I know you were down there some and saw some of that.
Yeah. When we first started going, I was, I don't know, I was small, so I was sitting about 5 or something like that. I was sitting behind a dune, a sand dune, and there was the only thing between me and the track, which was the beach. And Mom was letting me sit there playing with stuff, and I could hear the roar coming up the beach, and she said, "Okay, here comes Daddy." And I would look up, and she said, "There he goes," and I couldn't keep my eyes on him because it was so fast for me. I was little, And but it was really a lot of fun. It's always been most fun to go to the Daytona races, and especially on the beach, it was a lot of fun.
I would have loved to be able to see some of that. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, because they used to start like a lot of cars.
A bunch of them.
Like 100 cars or.
Well, yeah, and they had such rivets in the sand, and they would hit that and then go over the up near the North Turn. And the North Turn restaurant is there today, where that part of the track was. And I love the Glasniks, and they've got that wonderful restaurant there. And actually, they've got some memorabilia in there, and every year they do Living Legends parade on the beach. And if you have an old race car from, I think, 58 earlier, then that ran on the beach, then you can get in that particular parade. It's a great parade. I try to participate every year. It's wonderful, yeah.
I've been to the restaurant, but I wasn't there. I haven't never been there for any of that other stuff. But I've been to the restaurant.
You gotta go to that.
I would love to.
It's awesome. Isn't it awesome?
I guess I'm gonna have to hit my son up for some Daytona
There
passes.
you go. You could be there for Speedway. Speedway's.
I've done it one time, but I did. That's when we went out there to eat, but they didn't have anything going on. But I've been down there for Speedway one time. My son's very first Daytona 500 that he participated in with. He was with Phoenix Racing, James Finch, and we went down and everybody says, "What is your greatest thrill that you've ever had?" Well, I raced, but nothing was to me any more exciting than standing before the Daytona 500. You know how the teams line up. I got to stand beside my son for his first Daytona 500. That's my biggest thrill, and it's been great. I love it. Darren, you say you got the car here signed by the Wood Brothers. I know you're real tight with the Wood Brothers. And tell us a little bit about their relationship with you and your father.
Well, it just goes all the way back. Daddy and Glenn Wood have known each other from the very beginning. They raced together, and then eventually, they worked together on the car, and he raced for them, and then again later on. And his very last, this is his comeback car, and this car came out last year, and we're just so proud of that. And this was his comeback car in 1965. This was a Wood Brothers car, and it was so nice that was his big comeback because he won that race. And people were saying he was over the hill and all that kind of thing. He was telling me this at home one day. He said, "Yeah, they think I'm over the hill," and talking like that. And I said, "Well, Daddy, you know better than just go and have a good time, And so he did. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I mean, that's the iconic number. The paint scheme is the iconic Wood Brothers paint scheme.
Yeah, I know. It's a beautiful car, isn't it?
All right, we're going to take a little break here. Mike Smith calling in from Martinsville. Speedway. Good morning, Mike Smith. How you doing?
Good morning, guys.
We're sure missing you up here. We're in Roanoke at the Curtis Turner Museum. We sure miss having you up here.
Yeah, I've had a busy day today. We have late, so many times.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure of that. So what all you got going on this year down at Martinsville? What's some of the things you got going, the big things you got going on?
Well, we've got, coming up, 27, 28, 29. Just to give you a lot of home days on Friday, there'll be a lot of practice for those cars, guys. Like just give you a lot of home days, cars we qualified, and Saturday we've got more practice, subdivision, we've got qualified trucks in the COVID busy with always, truck guys playing cars, Martinsville. And then after that, the 29th, my turn for some track race of the year, coming back home.
I kind of look forward to getting to Martinsville every year. That's my highlight. I like getting to Martinsville. And I got this. We were talking about big moments in racing a few minutes ago. My son was with Jeff Gordon when he won the race a couple years ago, and that was a big deal for me. I really enjoyed that.
That's coming into a big year. We're fortunate with 2 races this year. We'll have it 2 more times before it retires. And Martinsville's always been one of his best tracks, and we look for big things out of that race this year.
Martinsville's one of my favorite tracks too. And I understand you're gonna have one of my friend of mine. Well, we had a mutual friend, Tim Plogger, that with Kroger. He actually took me to Victory Lane with Kevin Harvick in the Tide truck, and it's one, it's one of those special places in my mind. And all because I fixed his TV one night.
Really be missed by all of us. He's been so much for support. He's meant so much to us.
Well, Mike, have you been up to the Curtis Turner Museum up here in Roanoke and looked around and see everything that's up here?
No, I can't. We talked about getting up there some. My daughter lives in Roanoke, so sooner or later I'll be up there.
Well, you tell me when you're coming, I'll meet you.
Okay.
That's Miss Margaret. Miss Margaret Turner Wright here. Did I get it right that time?
Margaret Sue.
Margaret Sue Turner
All
Wright.
that, it's a paragraph.
We'll certainly give her a call one day, come up and speak to her from her.
Right.
Now, you guys have like is it like a restaurant? I know Richmond brung it out, their tour club, and what is the one at Martinsville called? I can't think of the name. Your suite that the fans can buy tickets to and basically watch the race?
Yeah, we have 47, it's a really upscale suite, and then we have other VIP type suite. You can check that out on the website on Speedway.com.
And then what is you're having some kind of kickoff party or something after the truck race? I got an email yesterday or day before yesterday about.
Now that, we have a new program called Martinsville, but it's full of folks that we're doing this weekend every year, and we have a party for the Martinsville members after the race on Saturday.
Yeah, I think they're going to have pizza and Mountain Dew products, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, all kinds of products, pizza, donuts, we have this speaking, we'll have a truck driver, and we can get this on the Speedway, all that.
And plenty of Martinsville hot dogs, right?
Pretty much we'll have
I got to get some of those when I get up there.
I know, it's like you can just keep eating it.
I know. I'm telling you.
I know that.
So, what other things do you have going on? Do you have any like driver things going on around the track, hospitality areas, or whatever?
Well, we have race flagging experience that you can add on, and that we're going to put more out to it. It's that dealer like John, Dr. Myers, he'll be coming in, Fort Lake Town will be coming in, and all the questions that Andrew said is, your white flag, you're all going to get to, and it's about a race flag, that go down off the flag, and be free race, day, watch driving, and this is really not bad on the point as well.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun for that. I hope to be able to get down and experience some of that this time. So it was really good that you got things for the people that have the season tickets. And
Yeah, I'll be there.
It's the rain, but it's the Midwest well.
yeah, that's true. It's a lot. And you all put on a great show there. I mean, it's a lot of fun and a lot of action for the whole weekend.
Yeah, it is. The Cup guys, so technically still there. It's a Cup guys, and full stuff here. We got him on the Cup guys. So I think everything is good one still is here. So I'm really going on around there.
I mean, I don't know why more people don't build some of those short tracks compared to the big racetracks. We got so many of them. I would rather come to Martinsville and watch the beating and banging than some of the bigger stuff.
Yeah, one of the great things you can do is it's so close to the action. I mean, I think the car is never more than, quarter of a mile away from it. You can see everything, feel it. It's really, I like to call it,
I tell you one thing, my uncle, I used to farm off of them. They had a spot over on the Champions Overlook, and if anybody gets an opportunity to go there and watch the race and sit in front of the motorhome and watch the race, I mean, that's probably one of the best seats in the house.
All right, Mike, well, we appreciate your time. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. You're pretty busy over there, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to you again, and we'll see you when we get to Martinsville.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us.
You too, man. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
See you.
All right, we're going to come back to you now. one of the things that I really want to get into is, how are I know you've got all this going on, how are things looking as far as, I know you really don't know how it's going as far as getting you in the hall, but how are things looking in that direction?
Well, look, it's looking better because, you know, we've got right many of them in there now. And so every year it's been looking better and better. And I really feel like the next year, maybe this next year, maybe this year, I'm hoping that you'll be, you know, voted in and that we'll be there for 2016.
Were you
I'm really
there?
hoping for the 2016 inauguration. That's what I'm hoping.
Were you there this past year when,
Oh, yeah.
when Wendell Scott got it? I thought that was really good. I thought that was
Yes,
pretty.
Sybil is so sweet. And,
I've talked to her a lot.
she's been a great supporter to me, and we've been supporting each other. So,
I tried to contact her too and see if, you know, if I could get her on while we were here too, but she's tied up with something today, so couldn't get her on. But that would have been really cool.
What kind of driver was it? Because I was doing a little bit of research, and I noticed his nickname was Pop, and I was like, how was his nickname? Because he would drive down in the corner, and he'd pop you, and then grab what? I thought that was
that's
so
actually
funny.
true. That's actually true. He did do that, and according to Glenn Wood and Leonard Wood, you know, he really initiated the first draft. And he also was the one who was most well known at the time for doing that and started that, popping. You know, I mean, that's what they were calling it, pop. Now, I was actually at the Charlotte Speedway one day, and they were talking, some of the people were talking around Daddy, and they were, you know, just, you know, good friends and some crew members and stuff. And I came up and they were talking and friendly, and then they said, well, yeah, now what do you think about Pops here, about his name Pops? And I said, well, he's Daddy to me. And I just had an attitude. Because, you know, I just called him Daddy, you know, and, but I got out of that later, but that was the way I felt then. I was like, you know, I don't know, younger.
Yeah, you gotta stand up here.
Yeah, I just doing that.
Now, you were down in Daytona this past year. What kind of, was an award or something given or something?
Yes, thank you. At Victory Lane Racing, gave an award to my dad, and I just accepted it on his behalf. And really appreciate any time someone wants to honor the legends, especially my dad. I stand for him as much as possible. And yeah, it was a real nice event, and they do have an event every year. And so, yeah, went down to Daytona for that. It's great.
Well, that's great. I mean, I thought that was really cool. I keep up. I'm not a stalker, but I do keep up. But I do keep up with you on Facebook. I do keep up with things on Facebook. I think I've talked to you a couple of times, but
That's my husband, audience. And yeah, Darden Watts and Zeta Baker, they kind of spearheaded that. Also, Zeta had the Back to Roots thing on Monday. That's why you need to be there for Speedway, because we got the Back to Roots, which is at Bill Francis gas station.
oh, I know.
Yeah, that was Monday night. It was a big. It's always a big hit. It's getting bigger. And then Tuesday night we had Victory Lane Racing. We also had Living Legends with auction, and also a banquet the following night. And it's just a big weekend. It's just a big week. And also we went to the Lighthouse, the Mausoleum Lighthouse. They had a show there on Sunday prior. And so it's just like something going on every day, wasn't it?
So do you?
My buddy Karen was with me, and we just had time to try to keep up with all the events.
So do you have a lot of things that you go out and do to promote or to let it be known, or is it just things that you get invited to, or do you just?
Well, if you invite me, I'll probably come. But just give me a date, and I'll probably come. I mean, as much as possible, I want to try to get to things, and I went to different events that I just knew would be great to represent Daddy with. I go to Okanichi every year. That's a great event.
I've heard that. I don't know if you know Jeff Gilbert.
Oh, yeah.
I've talked to him several times, and I would love to go do that one time.
But you
I haven't been there.
have to come do that, because that is like, oh my God, so much fun. It's awesome. They've got that track that they're preserving. They've cleared it. They've done so much work there, and we have all these race cars. I got to drive a race car on that track.
Wow.
And it's
So-
a great event. A lot of people.
So do you have many of his cars, or is this the only one you got, or?
This is what we have right now. We get in different things, and a lot of people, other people have cars. I just kind of try to curate, and this is a family car, but this is the, we've got, different things that we've collected from the years. Sometimes people give me things, sometimes I have to buy it back on eBay.
Oh. So that's,
Stuff like that, and then my husband put this really nice display together, which gives a nice visual display of history. Not bad.
well, he has got, he is one of the guys back in those days that really started the sport and made it possible for when I was racing. And I was thinking, we were talking earlier, the big thing for me when I was growing up was going and sitting in my grandfather's car, listening to the race, hear him tell stories. He would tell a story. I used to do this in Ferrum, and I did this around Floyd, and I did this around Rocky Mount. He would tell a story, and I knew these people, and it was really, and then to go full circle, I raced a little bit, but then my son come along, and now he's in the sport, and he worked for the Wood Brothers, and my grandfather was a die-hard Wood Brothers, and it's really great.
They are such a great family. They're beautiful people, and they're my favorite.
Yeah, me and my wife stopped at the museum, the Wood Brothers Museum in Stewart, and Lynn was there, and he and I got to talking, and I mentioned my mom.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh yeah, I remember him. We used to go on double dates with him."
Oh, no kidding!
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It was really cool.
That's great.
And of course, my son, he would tell Leonard, when Leonard first cut his hair and made it, he made it stick up, and whatever, spiked his hair. The thing was, my son was doing it too. And my son would, the joke was, he wouldn't go to work unless his hair was spiked up. And Leonard said, "Well, what kind of things are you putting in your hair? Because mine don't stay up like that."
Oh, that's cute. I didn't know that.
That's really great. So have you got anything else going on anytime soon that you're going to be involved with? Or?
Let's see. Well, we do have to have an event. We usually have an event here every year. And we also have a parade, and we have race cars in it. And sometimes we have classic cars as an additional. We are in the midst of the 611 train that is a really big deal here right now. And so we're kind of waiting for our date. We don't know when we'll have our date yet, but I will post it. And I post it on Facebook, on Curtis Turner Racing Legend, the page, on Curtis Turner Museum on Facebook, the group, as well as on CurtisTurnerMuseum.com, which is, my the first thing I started with. Yeah. So anytime we have an event, I put it on there. And if I'm talking somewhere, I put it on there, or anything related with that.
So do you keep in contact with a lot of the people that were racing back in those days and everything, and spend a little time with them? Or do they help contact you and help you out with what you're doing?
Yeah, they, I just know them from, a long time ago, and so if I needed something, I guess I would call them, but we just kind of show up.
Yeah.
And so they've been very kind and very helpful, and Glenn and Leonard were very instrumental with this car, and they came last year. It was great to have. It was last year, right? Most Wood Brothers came last year. Yeah, most Wood they came last year. It was great, and we have a pretty nice size event here. And you haven't been to this event yet.
No.
So that's another event you need to go to.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you
the first one you need to go to.
well, when you release that, I'll be here. I promise you, I will be here.
We have a lot of fun. It's like 10 to 3 or something. Usually about like that.
That's really good. So I'm glad that you're still involved in the sport somewhere along the line. You went to Daytona this year.
Yeah.
What do you think about racing now as compared to what it was?
Well, it's just all different, but everything changes. It was a lot of fun. We loved it. We enjoyed it, and I just never get enough of that feeling when they first come around. that turn, you just go, you just feel that excessive energy is just amazing. Adrenaline is just going whoosh, right away. And I love being in the infield because that's where I grew up. Run around the infield, and we would get on the RVs sometimes to get a certain view and everything of the turns. And family, that's where you got to meet all the people, and that's where all the action is, and it's just great to be in that particular area. And so I grew up with that, and we went to a lot of the races, while I was growing up. And when I'll tell you something interesting, when Daddy, I guess when we were in Charlotte the second time, we lived there twice. We lived there the first time when he was building the Charlotte Speedway, and I was in middle school. And then there were problems with it, as you're well aware. I'm sure that's been well publicized with the rock that they had to blow it up and everything to get that turn taken. It was a lot of expense, but it was his baby, and he was very distraught when he, lost the track. But we came back a few years later and had a second home there, and that one was on Pierce Drive. And that's when he started the Safe High Speed Performance Driving School at the track, which I took.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, that's my graduation picture.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So did he make you take the class?
Oh, God, no. I was asking like crazy, So, well, I mean, I drag raced Daddy, I mean, we had a few. That wasn't exactly legal.
Come on.
But, and actually up on Peter Creek. Anyway, so, yes, I loved it. It was great. I learned to do the 180s on wet pavement, dry pavement, gravel and all this stuff. I went around the track, 100, 110, I can't remember now. Now I graduated. That's my graduation picture. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and that was the second time that we lived there. And during that time period that we had that come there, I was talking with Daddy one time, and I said, Daddy, you should really be in some encyclopedia. We didn't have, Google Doc, right? And so I said, you should really be in, I think you should be in like an encyclopedia. He said, oh, shucks. And I said, well, I just think people should know about you. What if someone wrote something like you being a frontier of NASCAR, frontier driver of NASCAR? I was talking like that. He said, I'm not a frontier. I'm not a frontier person. I mean, we didn't think of it that way, but we do. We do talk about it like that. We call them legends, but it wasn't frontier. It was a frontiering sport. It's brand new territory, undiscovered. And so, but he didn't like that. He thought, well, I'm not a frontier, because he thought of the frontier as, Wild West, But I knew back then that I wanted people to know about him. I didn't think that people knew enough about him. I didn't think they knew what all he did and how he contributed to the sport and everything. That's why I wrote this, tried to get all these stats together, and put the book together. People actually hold it in their hands.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I until we had talked about it coming up here or something like last year, and like we had something to do with the Charlotte Motor Speedway. There's interesting things that the average person probably doesn't know, and it's very interesting, to know that how far he started, or in NASCAR at the beginning of it, and helped pioneer it, and it was pioneering, and I can understand his thought that. He didn't really think he did anything. It's me, when I first started racing, I was helping a team, and these kids come up and want an autograph. I'm like, well, the driver's over there. Why would you want an autograph? I'm nobody. And I could see how he would, kind of feel like that. I was driving a race car. But he was instrumental in the starting of the sport. And I wonder what he would think today of how big it's grown. Because it's, from what he started and where it's at today, it's just miles and miles apart.
I can say this.
We have a member from the audience here. We're getting a little bit out of hand. I was kidding. Go ahead.
Sports Illustrated, racing wasn't really treated like a true sport.
Right.
So he appeared on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, Daddy was the first one to be on a magazine, and they put him on.
I know that.
Yeah, he was first race car driver to be put on a magazine, and that was Sports Illustrated. Yeah.
First race car driver in there.
And he was also the
Now, I heard that. I did hear that somewhere along the line.
Yeah, Daddy was the first one also to own an airplane. And that's just because he could go as fast as he wanted, without a ticket.
and get where it went to real fast.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that was it. And he landed a few times too on the track. I mean, field. But yeah, he did. He would let me fly the plane sometimes.
I'm going to ask a controversial question. And if you don't want to answer, that's fine. But my question is, when you look at the people that have gone into the Hall of Fame so far, okay, I'm not going to ask your opinion of the people itself, but I'm going to ask you how you feel about some of the people that have been voted in, notwithstanding the first 5 that went in. Because I think the first 5 that went in, that was a legit group of people that went into the Hall. Now, let's look at some of the others that have gone in before Curtis Turner. In my opinion, when you look at a Hall of Fame, you look at history, but I can understand you want to bring you want to bring in for a fan effect, but I'm going to put it right out there the way I see it. I don't see how in the world Rusty Wallace could end up in a Hall of Fame before Curtis Turner. I'm going to put it out there.
Well, here's what my take is. I've been in business for myself before, and I'm in business with myself. I mean, as an artist, But when you go into business for yourself, you've got so many things that you have to take into consideration. My husband's been an entrepreneur, and what we have found is that there are a lot of things that people don't know are going on because they're not on the inside. It's so hard to figure out how to make the business work. I think that NASCAR is making it work. I think that they have to have people that are going to be able to go up there on the stage. This is just my opinion, and you said you don't want my opinion.
Oh, I do want your opinion, but I mean, I'm saying if you don't want to give it, I understand.
No, I have a favorable opinion of NASCAR. I feel like they are making it work, and I understand the entrepreneurial business a little bit because we've been in it for so long ourselves. And I know that you've got to have some history. You've got to make it work. You want people to come. You want people to know who was here and who was there and who is now and who was back then. And they need to have that marriage together of both the past and closer up because of the way that it is with our history. And some people, like you said, don't know about Curtis Turner. I'm trying to get the message out. I've got a museum. I've got stuff on the web. I go to events. I get a book going. I try to do what I can to get that message out. But some people don't know. If they don't know, they might not come. They might not be a part of it. Right. So they are addressing different issues that we might not think about.
I agree with that.
She's been doing this, the Hall of Fame's relatively new.
Yeah,
right. She's been doing this since 2000, way before there was anything even talking.
Okay, this audience is getting out of hand. I'm just kidding. This is true. I started my little Curtis Turner Museum online back in 2000. I believe it was. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. When I saw NASCAR, and I went,
well,
okay, I guess we'll work together.
And I agree with you. I agree with the fact that NASCAR does it right. I do agree with you. But to me, I just have this, I guess because I grew up and saw Rusty Wallace race, but I know the history of beforehand, Tiger Tom Pistone.
Oh yes, I know.
And those guys.
Yeah. I think that my opinion, again, it's just an opinion, is it would have been great if they could have had more people in it, like maybe at one time, and get more of the historical figures in there, and still have some people that are, a little bit more relevant to the past, say 10 or 20 years, past, and then go all the way back to the 50s. And Daddy's best year was 1956, in the vertical division. Yeah. And so my thought, if I was running it, but I don't know, like I told you, I don't know all of the things that they know. I don't know all of the issues that they face daily and monthly and everything. But if it were mine, based on the little information that I have, I would think that 10 people every year would help instead of 5. And I would like to see an online vote that is just for the historical figures, because I also promote the online fan vote, and I put that on my websites too, when that's coming up. And so that people can vote for the online fan vote, and that is considered one of the votes, a very important vote that they put into the file, when they get to for the National Hall of Fame. Well, I just really feel like, if there could be more people, and if they could maybe just have the historical first decade, maybe have one just for the first decade, have another vote or something for the second decade, and maybe do it by decades. I think that would help. But I don't know. That's just a thought.
I think some of it's because they started it so late. I mean, it was already 50 years in the making before they run in the Hall of Fame. So then you just had an abundance of people that should be in there.
I know, but you just
in
can't put
5
them all in.
years.
It's
gonna
5
take
years
forever.
small. It's good. It's very small, but I know that they have some reasons that they're doing what they're doing. I just don't know all those reasons.
I had a, like I said, we have a friend of ours that was on our last show that was a part of the voting committee. He still is part of the voting committee.
Yeah.
And we had an inside look through him what goes on behind the closed doors.
Yeah.
And he was telling us, he wouldn't tell us names, but I mean, he would say, this was a heated discussion on this person, a heated discussion on this person.
Yeah.
And I just think it's, to
Like
me,
politics behind closed doors.
yeah, I think to me, it's just a matter that I think a guy like Curtis Turner, Tiger Thompson, some of those guys that really started this sport, they should be recognized.
Well, I vote yes for that too. I just don't know how to handle that.
I mean, you don't. I mean,
We don't really.
there's
It's not
nothing.
our game.
That's right. It's their game. They play it, but
Well, I think you got to
Everybody
have
else
somebody
can
new for some relevance, and that helps draw a crowd.
Well, new work.
Right.
Yeah, because people have a memory that goes back from when they were born and what they related to when they went to races, or maybe they just went to races in the 80s. They may still not know people back in the 50s. People might have gone in the 90s, so they'll go back to people. I mean, that's kind of, I can see a relevance in having something, but I really do think that if they could do it by decade, first decade, wow, there's a lot that went on in just that first decade.
Yeah.
And then have someone to also add into it that's more relevant to people, what they remember.
I mean, like the convertible series, I don't think many people knew that they ran these things.
Can you imagine? I mean,
No, I can't imagine.
I mean, and this was Daddy's suit, his last racing suit. This was his last race, and it was in Open Beach. I believe that was his last race. And Grandpa gave that to him. But he would have for his racing outfit. Well, in this painting, you'll see his racing outfit in 1950. That's Langhorne, Pennsylvania. I painted that one. His racing outfit is the T-shirt, and
Now, did he have a particular number that he used, or did
I think that was
it's like 81 right there?
yeah. Huh?
Okay, at least the reason 41 exists, it's all straight line, so no one knew how to do it.
no.
Yeah. The reason he just said that the reason that 41 existed instead of 81 was they didn't know how to do curved lines at the time. So he had 14, 41, and stuff like that a lot. But 26 was in 1956, and so they must have had that taken care of pretty good. And he won over 22 races in 1 year. Yeah, so he not only was a great race car driver, he won like 360 races in all of the ARCO,
All the other
as well as the other series, including NASCAR. And then he was a track owner. Then he was a track, Charlotte Speedway.
Yeah.
He also had did the one up in Floyd. There was a Floyd Speedway for 1 year, and he promoted races there 1 year. And that was Floyd.
Did that-
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know it was but that's not the same one.
Floyd Speedway.
Oh, Floyd Speedway. There was one called Franklin County Speedway. I was wondering if that was.
No.
That's why.
Yeah, that's why you feel that's different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's pretty grown over and stuff. I think there's some sort of building nearby, but on it.
I didn't know that. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, we need to go up there and walk that track.
I would love to. I would love to. I would love to.
Wouldn't that be fun? But so he was an owner, track promoter. He was promoter of many races, not only Charlotte Speedway. He also helped promote one at VIR.
Oh, okay.
And he also,
Stadium.
and Victory Stadium, he raced at Victory Stadium here in Roanoke and also promoted here at Victory Stadium in Roanoke. So there's a lot of history all over the place.
But did he always drive for somebody else, or did he own his own cars?
In the beginning, he owned his own car. Yeah, yeah, it was our family car. Yeah, and he would drive our family car. Mom would tell me, "Oh, I'm going the family car." They put me when I was born. They put me in the back seat window as a baby and were driving to the races, the family car, which was going to be in the race.
I've heard stories like that where then and some people would wreck them and then they had to figure out how to get home.
Right. They had
I mean,
to
that
help
was
each
a
other in those
norm.
things. They had to really help each other.
Yeah, they did help each other a lot.
But then you could race and make a living off the purse when Bill France got involved.
It got better, and then of course, when that whole thing happened with Shelburne Speedway, and Daddy was trying to form the union thing, and that's what he and Bill France went at odds with each other. And Daddy was trying to save the track, and he was also trying to help the drivers. So he thought it was good in his mind that it would be a good thing to do. Well, Bill didn't want any part of that, and so he threatened to ban them all from racing.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone that had jumped on board was, I think, 17 members or something. I don't know, a bunch of them. And Tim Flock was the only one who remained. Fireball Roberts remained for a while with these.
Did everybody get reinstated?
The only ones who were, after he said that, they had a chance then, so they were not banned. They were going to be if they stuck with Daddy.
I got you.
And so Daddy and Tim Flock were banned because they stood strong together.
All right.
But then he was reinstated later, but Tim Flock didn't race again. But Daddy did because he asked him to come back.
Controversial question, number two.
Okay.
But no, I'm serious. What do you think that the fact that he tried to start that union? I've heard this from different people along the line. I mean, I've had some people that have told me that may be a deterrent in some ways of him getting in the hall.
No, I don't think so. I think that people think that because they know about that story. But I really think NASCAR moved on. I know Bill France moved on. Daddy and Bill France were friends at the end. Bill France was at my dad's funeral. He was a pallbearer.
Richard
Here.
Petty tried to start a union.
Richard Petty did.
Yeah.
tried to
I
start a union,
kind of remember something about that.
But see, since Daddy got it started, he got the idea, oh, let's take care of the drivers, okay? So Daddy got that idea started. Richard Petty picked it up again later, and that's when the purses got really a lot better.
Well, I think
And they were, it's really hard to insure a race car driver.
yes.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
And that's been a big thing.
Well, I think the premise of what that was all about was to take care of the driver down the road. Because if you look at some of the things that have transpired, they need the help down the road when it's all said and done. And,
Now,
Sam Hart comes to mind.
Yeah, I know. I know we have drivers helping drivers in the Legends groups and stuff that, involved with. And so, yes, there's an event coming up. Let's see, do you remember, Gary, the next event coming up? Okay,
Charlotte, it goes down to
it's in Randall.
Oh, then, yeah, that's right. Fundraiser for.
Yeah, that's Mike Sykes fundraiser.
Mike Sykes.
That's going to be in Randall and coming up. I just don't have the date in my mind, but I'll put it on Facebook when I have that date because we need to help each other.
It's going to be at the Penn Museum.
It'll be at the museum.
Yeah, well, I think some of the drivers today and owners just need to get more involved than they do. Because the money that those guys are making compared to what those guys make back is it's pennies.
Oh, it's yeah.
It would be really great that if some of these big name drivers that would come on and say, look, we'd like to
That'd
help
be beautiful.
the older guys.
But some of them have. I think Darren and Sam are, if I'm not mistaken. I think Kevin Harvick bought him the band. And I think
Kyle Busch helped him a lot too.
yeah, and I believe Tony gives back quite a bit, or some.
It's very admirable to see the character that's in the racing community.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know about that character. There's a lot of integrity there, and people don't talk about that. But that's something that I have seen, and I'm very proud of, very honored to be a part of that.
are
that
some of those
community.
guys that are today that do love the history. And I say Tony Stewart's one of those guys. I know I was in the Nationwide Series a little bit, but I don't know for how many years he bought Morgan Shepherd's tires.
Still does at times.
Yeah. And I don't know hardly any other driver or team member that's going, because that bill is not a shallow bill. It's probably $20,000 to $30,000 a week.
Well, think about Richard Childress. Richard Childress gets them. I mean, I'm sure there's some bodies and stuff that he's not using. Morgan Shepherd gets. I mean, you know, and that's the way it should be. I think it's a lot of.
But they
What is it
forget
about?
where they came from, because those guys started in nothing and came through.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's you know, they don't ever get publicized for it. I think they probably should, and in some ways they probably don't want people to know. And some people they just want to do it, and they don't want to get publicity just because of that. But I think it's great. I think it's a good idea for people to know that, because they get to see a different side of Tony Stewart. I don't think some people don't realize they just see the rough and wild part of Tony, and they don't really see the softer side that he really does get back.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and the thing with Dale Earnhardt, they said he did a lot of things that nobody knows.
Yeah.
That he did for other people, but he didn't want the publicity of saying it. And I think that's a good.
Well, it's natural because they're just naturally that way, and so they don't think about, I'm going to go advertise how wonderful I am.
Right.
They just don't think like that. And back in the day, you know, we weren't asking for Daddy's autograph; he was right there, you know. And but I was thinking ahead about the future. Daddy was a very generous-hearted person too, and he did things for people that they didn't necessarily go around self-advertising. Like he had Hutch was his chauffeur for a while, helped him out, stuff like that. And he asked him to go ahead and drive for him a little bit. He actually taught him to drive some, and he also taught him to read and write because he was illiterate at the time. So Daddy actually worked with him. And most people don't know that, you know, he was helping him out. Hutch was really a great person. He was totally loyal to that. Really big guy. Had a really cute humor.
Now, let's look at this book that you have here. When did this come out? Or where can they get those books?
Oh, well, you can get them here from the Virginia Museum of Transportation.
Okay, they got them here, okay.
They've got some here. I think Phil has some. And also online from my FurnitureMuseum.com.
Amazon.
What? It's also on Amazon.com.
Now, what about the car? Is that available?
Yes, if that's, let's see, we have that on our website.
Put it on your website.
What's on FurnitureMuseum.com? Huh? All right.
Is that available on
And there's also
NASCAR.com
here.
too?
It's available, I think, at the National Museum.
I think it is at the NASCAR Museum at the Hall of Fame, And we have some here, don't we? Or we may be out of cars, but we might could put some in here if somebody wants to order one, we'll bring it. Because we're right here. Yeah.
Well,
What kind of other items do you have?
Oh, we have a t-shirt. We sold completely out of the other t-shirt we had,
At
so
our annual event, we'll create a new t-shirt.
we'll create a new t-shirt at each event. This is the one of Daddy from our, we call it the first one, the inaugural. And then we have that one on this side. Christopher. And anytime you wear something like this, it just kind of, people might say, well, okay, so who is that? You know, if they don't know. Or why are you wearing that or something. The whole idea is just to kind of get the awareness out there. One of the legends of NASCAR. And hope that they'll, just get that message out. Maybe they'll talk about it. Someone else. Yeah.
Getting in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
That's the end goal.
I hope to have him, I want him to be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. That's my answer to Daddy. I think he should be in an encyclopedia.
I agree with you. I think he deserves it. He's and the part that he was there to free line and all stuff. Those things should be put out there. He should be there.
In the beginning.
There was a nice trip. Yeah, he was racing from the very beginning.
Well, we appreciate your time and everything, and if there's anything that you need that we can help you with, feel free to call us and let us know. I'm willing to do anything you need to
Oh,
help
that's
you
so
out.
sweet. Thank Thank you.
Because I would really like to see you get in, and I know we as a team, we would like to promote anything we can do to promote it. As long as we keep building like we're building, we will be somewhere soon.
Somebody don't pull the plug on it.
There you go. Okay, make sure the plug's in. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I really appreciate your time. Thanks for setting this up for us. And it's really great.
Yeah,
That's Curtis Dogs.
First for adults.
Well, we appreciate.
My friend Karen Carter, who's my artist friend, and walked in the rain to get here.
Wait a minute, I think we've got to get over with here. Your artist stuff that you have.
Oh, yes. Okay, I paint every day. And I have Margaret for Wright now. The whole paragraph. And that's where I have my art. And I'm at Gallery 202 downtown Roanoke here, right above the Monos, right? And this is where we have our gallery, our studios. I have paintings of Dad. And I'm going to be doing more paintings of Dad there. Welcome to come, 10 to 5, usually Tuesday through Saturday.
Great.
Great. I'm going over there here.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming out early. It's better than I can be up and steady. I'm not even going to talk about you and painting.
Well, let me tell you, Daddy, I sat down with Daddy when I was one, and I was drawing faces, little cartoons, and I said, "You want to draw Daddy?" And he said, "Oh, I can't do nothing drawing with people." And he drew stick figures. And then he said, "But I can draw a race car." Yeah, it was awesome.
That's what we do.
I
could do that too.
It's just whatever you like, you can do it. You can do what you like.
Yeah, it's pretty savage when your son's at school and he gets recognized because he draws race cars and everything.
Oh,
I mean, he did that when he was in school. He drove that, and we never thought he would end up being in racing. So that's really cool. But thanks to Curtis Turner, who we don't know how, but somehow along the line we're all supposed to be kin with the family. But I think about it, it's really cool.
I want to get an envelope before you admit.
But I think Pete Wright, I don't know if you know Pete. He's from Fairmont. And his grandfather was my grandfather's brother. And he is in the sport. He's been in the sport for years. And he was Darrell Walsh's crew chief for a while. And he and I I talk to him, and his mom still lives in Fairmont. So when he comes to Martinsville to race, he goes and stays with his mom.
Wow, that's kidding.
So that's how we got to. So that's how we all got to know each other.
Are we cousins?
You'd be surprised who you might run into. And then there may be some you don't want to claim. If you don't want to claim me, that's cool. But but we really appreciate your time. Thank you for doing this for us.
Absolutely.
And we enjoyed it.
Thanks for coming up.
And we'll do this again, maybe sometime soon. And if you get him into the Hall of Fame, let's do it again then. Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Or maybe when you do have the next event, maybe we'll do a small thing.
Yeah, that would be perfect. So just let us know, and we'll be right here for you if we can help.
Super. Thank you
Thank
so
you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you again Tuesday night.